I'm here with Jordan Colle. You touched on Brandon Lake just calling you. What was that
Yeah,
like getting that call?
the church I was at in Virginia, we both worked there together.
Mm.
We were both worship leaders there. He was doing some bigger venues and needed some background vocal help and asked me if I could jump on. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Was there a time where you're the Lord's giving me some songs that I want
Oh,
to put out
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah, yeah,
myself?
yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a month-long counseling center. Kind of got the opportunity to go to this place to basically just isolate myself and figure out a bunch of stuff. Well, I wrote a song while I was there, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'd never written a song completely and it was a worship song, and I wrote it by myself. When I got home from there, dude, I wrote every day, all day. I mean, it's the only thing I wanted to do. It was the beginning of my 10,000 hours.
What brought you to start releasing music?
So I was a worship leader at a church in Virginia, and we would do albums. But I always just kind of had this itch to do things that necessarily weren't congregational, or I would end up writing these songs that were more singer-songwriter-y or artist driven, That kind of sparked it of maybe I just record them and do it and kind of just go from there.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Studio One. I'm here with Jordan Colle. How are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for jumping on.
Of course.
I want to jump into a quick intro with you just so people can kind of get to know you. Then we'll jump into a game. But for now, let's do an intro. So where are you from?
Originally from Tallahassee, Florida, which is obviously the capital, but it's a little more South Georgia than it is Florida, I guess, as far as culture, and it's very much the South. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm from, and I currently live in Denver, Colorado.
Okay. So do you actually, this is perfect because one of the questions in the game is going to be harking on that. But you moved from a really, really warm spot to a cold spot. Was that always in the cards for you?
Well, no, well, it's funny. I never even saw snow until I was an adult. I was married. We got married and moved to Virginia, and I worked at a church there for 7 years. That was the first time I ever saw snow. And so yeah, it was definitely pretty jarring. But
Yeah.
I like that, there's something about the winter that I feels like it makes you a little stronger in some ways.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
this weird, yeah, I mean, you're from Philly, the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
it's people are proud when they make it through the winter. You know what I mean? It's there's this
Survived another
weird
one.
energy with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. Let's jump into another question. So how did you get introduced to music?
Um, my dad and my brother both played.
Hmm.
I know get into a little more of that later, but and my grandfather also played as well. So, um, grew up in the church and stuff. So that was maybe mainly my intro into it. I started as a drummer. It was my
Okay.
first instrument of choice, and so yeah, and then I just kind of fell in love with it and started doing everything else, guitar, singing, all that kind of stuff. So.
How many instruments do you play? Because you've played with drums and you do some producing, so I'm assuming you play a lot. But what did you start with?
Yeah, I mean, I
Where'd you
would
go to? Yeah.
say I'm very okay at a few, but I'm
Yeah.
not really good at any of them. It's almost like I can do enough to get by on or electric or
Mm.
but acoustic and singing are probably my two main instruments, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But drums was it still is my favorite, but I
Yeah.
just don't have a kid and don't play as much
Oh.
anymore, so I wish. But
Yeah. I was gonna say, is there no opportunities at church? Maybe you could just slide on once in a while and be like,
well,
"Hey,
every now
I'll
and
play."
then we'll do run through you listen through the tracks before Sunday or something,
Yeah.
and I'll just get behind the kit and play along with them just to kind of. I'm just so bad now though. It's almost worse. It's like your mind knows what you should do, and your body's
Yeah.
just nah, that's not gonna happen. So
No.
it's
That's
almost
amazing.
more depressing to play
Oh,
now.
gotta get one of those kids. I'm
Yeah.
sure at least one of your kids are gonna want to play drums at some point. You're gonna have a kid at
Yeah,
some point.
yeah. I mean, and then I have to live through what my parents lived through, just
Exactly.
the loudest, worst drum playing for 4 years. But
Oh,
it's
that's
all good.
amazing. I love it. And then one more intro question. So, what do
Yeah,
you like doing outside of music? So, like I was saying earlier, most people are like, "Oh, musicians, they just kind of play music and that's just kind of what they do." But obviously, I'm sure you have other
yeah.
hobbies. What's a hobby that you'd go for?
Oh man, I do love sports. I love
Mm,
keeping up with. A big NBA guy. and football guy. Like I love keeping up with like all like the narratives in the sports world, and that's probably like my like when I just want to chill, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and just like want to not think about music. But honestly, it's like I'm kind of one of those. It's hard to turn it off, you know what I mean. So I I usually joke that my hobby is music, but
Yeah.
for the sake of the question, I will not say that. So
Yeah. I love it. Did you when you moved, did you from Florida, did you
yeah.
take your teams that you cheered for there and do you still cheer for them, or are you kind of like, nah, that's another life. I'm going for another team.
Yeah, so I have rooted for the Lakers for a long time.
Yeah.
Like 15 years at this point. And so definitely still root for them. I grew up obviously in a college town near
Mhm.
Florida State University. So like a lot of it's funny, it's like when you're living in a college town, it's like you think about it and like live it, breathe it 24/7, you know?
Yeah.
But then when you move, it's like funny how the environment is like what makes it so potent in your life, like the energy of the city, you know. And so I definitely keep up with Florida State a little bit, but not nearly as much as I used to. Like I yeah, it's kind of been an interesting. Honestly, too, it's like you can only have so much time for however many teams. So,
Yeah.
um, but really, it's kind of the Lakers, and that's about it.
All right. Oh, I like that.
So,
I like it. All right, we're gonna get into a quick game before we get into all the rest of the questions we have. A quick
okay,
game that's called This or That. So I'm gonna give
oof,
you
okay,
two things, and you might have to disappoint some people. It's okay though.
yeah, I get
Got
it,
to go
I
with your
get it.
heart.
Okay,
We got five of them. So I'm gonna give you the first one.
okay.
We got coffee or tea.
Oh, coffee for sure.
Coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your morning brew look like?
Well, in a perfect world, I'd just do you know, the whole pour over thing,
Yeah.
like just dialed, you know, like spending 10 minutes on one cup of coffee. But since having kids, we've moved to the efficiency of a espresso machine.
Mm,
So I usually just Americano.
mm.
So it's kind of my
All right.
yeah. It's pretty boring, but gets the job done. You know what I mean?
It gets you up in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. What
Love it.
about you? What's yours?
Oh man, I'm gonna be controversial. I like tea. I've never
That's
really
great.
liked coffee ever. Like I don't know what a
Yeah,
lot of my siblings drink it. My parents drink it every morning, but like for me, it's just never really hooked.
yeah.
But teas, I love teas, like herbal
My
teas. I
wife's
love all that
that
kind of
way. I
stuff.
mean, my wife drinks coffee now, but when I met her, she didn't, and she only
Yeah,
drank tea. She does both now, but um, yeah. I mean, I'm not against tea. I love a good
yeah,
tea. It's just if I'm gonna choose, it's like you know, I want the
yeah.
little jump. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So
Things
yeah,
I've never really experienced that, so I actually have no idea what that feels like. Maybe I
you
should
would
try
be like,
sometime.
you would feel like you're on drugs probably if you like drank
Probably.
coffee. Like it would probably you probably need like friends around and like a
Oh yeah.
support system if you drink coffee. Like
Help
we
me
need
out,
to
guys.
keep eyes on you. Yeah.
I see. Like the thing is, like I'm such a morning person that like really like I don't like in the morning. I'm kind of just ready to go already. Like I don't really feel like I
Yeah.
need that extra boost. And maybe that's just like if I had it, I'd probably be like wired way too much for people.
Oh,
So
you'd be
maybe
up
I
for like 3 days probably. Yeah.
I probably would
Yeah.
be.
I used to be a really good morning person, but um the touring world has changed
Oh yeah.
has like reversed my schedules and now I'm like a
Oof.
night owl. So
Dang. That stinks.
but anyway,
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Next question.
yeah.
So I was gonna say guitar or piano, but I almost feel like I want to put
Mm.
guitar or drums.
Oh
Let's do
well.
this. Let's say let's
That's good.
choose guitar or drums. Let's do
Okay.
that. This or that.
Um I'd probably have to choose guitar only
Okay.
because it's with like songwriting, it's like there's only so much
Yeah,
inspiration you can,
that's
you
true.
know. Um, Probably for like the longevity of a
Yeah.
guitar, you know what I mean? Like as far as the productivity of my life.
Yeah.
But as far as just like going out and having a good time, drums all day for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
But for the sake of the question, I
There's
will
nothing like
say,
live drums. There's nothing like
oh
live
yeah.
drums.
And when
Yeah.
someone's really good, you're like, dang, this is awesome. But
Yeah,
I'm not that. So
I love
anyway,
it. Yeah. All right. Warm weather or cold? I know you said Colorado and now Florida. If you could
yeah,
pick warm weather or
definitely
cold,
warm. Definitely
yeah,
warm. Yeah. Even though the winters are
get the
cool,
rays.
like I enjoy it, but I mean, like people laugh at us, but our house is like it's like never under 70 degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like we're both just like Florida to the bone in so
oh
many
yeah,
ways. But yeah, so
that's
I'd probably
amazing.
say warm.
All right, I like it. All right, next one: producing or songwriting. If you had to choose either one,
Oh, definitely songwriting. Yeah,
songwriting. Why is that?
yeah. Um, um, that's a good question. I was gonna say something. Well, songwriting is it's a it's extremely challenging. Um, it is like one of those things where I feel like when someone gets into songwriting, I think songwriting weeds people out pretty quickly.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's like, because it's such a grind to,
yeah,
to do it really well, which not saying I do, but to do it well, you have to just like put the time in, and it's
yeah,
like a muscle, it's like, but I just get a lot of satisfaction from like, um, trying to capture what I feel like needs to be captured, and then hearing people respond to it and
mm,
stuff. It's just really gratifying. But I do love producing. It's fun just to be creative, and I love that side of my brain. But if I had to choose, it'd definitely be songwriting.
yeah. I love that. That's great. And the last one: movie
Okay,
or TV show.
movie.
Movie. Why is that?
Um, I love. Well, it's funny now because there's so many TV shows that you're like, could this just been a movie?
For
You
sure.
know. So I feel like a really good show is great. But like a lot of the shows now, it's like this could have just been a movie. So, but I would say, why movies? I never even asked that to myself. I don't really know. Maybe it's
Good thing
just
to think
like the
on.
vibe of like a movie theater and like the
Mm,
process of it, and like let's sit down and watch a movie. It's like
yeah.
you're just like in this other world for an hour and a half, 2 hours nowadays, like 3 hours in some of these
Oh
movies.
Lord.
But
Yeah.
there's just still something about like taking you on this journey of
Yeah.
you know, which I think shows do, but it's so much stop and go. So
Yeah.
um, I don't want any commercials in my movie.
Oh yeah. Of course not.
Who wants that? Yeah,
Nowadays with streaming services, I think they sometimes do have commercials in the movies, and it's frustrating.
I know. Now you have to like pay extra
I
to
know.
go without ads. I'm like, dude, Amazon, you guys got plenty of money.
They're doing
You're just
just
like
fine.
finessing us for an extra $3.
It's all the
It's
2 day shipping
ridiculous.
stuff.
Yeah,
Oh
seriously.
man. I love it. Well,
But
thanks for doing the game with me. That was fun.
no, it's fun. Yeah,
Get
it
to
was
know a little
good.
more of you. Yeah.
Made me think more about myself than I was planning on. That's great.
Perfect. You got some things afterwards to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's jump into it now. So you started releasing music from your Spotify in 2020. Was that correct?
Um, I think so. Yeah, I released like a solo project
Mm-hmm.
called Mainland, like I guess 2019, yeah, somewhere around there. I think I wrote it in like 2018, but
Mm.
when you don't have a lot of money, you're just like everything takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
Um, so, but it was kind of like a challenge to myself
Mm-hmm.
to I wanted to write 10 songs by myself,
Yeah.
like start to finish.
Mm.
I knew they weren't going to be maybe the best things I've ever written, but I wanted to see if I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what that album is like I wanted to say I wrote a body of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really good it was like a really good exercise in a way. It's weird to call it an exercise because it was obviously the songs mean a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it captures a time in my life, but there was definitely a motivation of like I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I think it sparked something in me, and gave me a little bit of confidence moving forward in songwriting and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because it seems like you're actually answering the question I was going to ask, but like if you maybe expand a little more, like what brought you to start releasing music and like start really pursuing that? Were you a worship leader
yeah.
before
So
that, or
yeah,
was it
I
like,
was So I was a worship leader at a church in Virginia, and we would do albums.
mm,
So I was still very much a part of writing songs and worship songwriting and but I always just kind of had this itch to do things that necessarily weren't congregational, or I would end up writing these songs that were like more singer songwritery or like
Yeah.
artist driven, and I just didn't have an outlet for it. And so obviously I had an outlet for the church stuff with our worship band and stuff. But so that kind of sparked it, of like, well, maybe I just record them and do it and,
Mm.
you know, kind of just go from there. And so, I don't know, does that answer that?
Yeah,
I
that
did
answers
okay.
that. Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
That's great. I love it. And like, was there a time in that season of like you were like, hey, this outlet, like, was there a time where you felt like, all right, the Lord really gave you an opportunity of like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm gonna really pursue this.
Um, you talking about like post the album,
Yeah,
like,
like,
or
yeah, like as you were like you were writing with your like the worship team that you're with and all that stuff, and like, but then you're like, no, like I have songs that I really want to pursue, and like, was there like a time where you're like I felt really like the Lord's giving me some songs that I want
oh
to put
yeah,
out for
yeah, yeah, yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. So I went to a like we don't have to do like crazy personal, but I went to like a month long like counseling center,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Um, Long story short, it was just I was like 20. I was probably like 26 at the time,
Gotcha.
25. And it was just kind of like I basically just ignored a lot of things I was dealing with in my life for
Mm,
a long time, and kind of got the opportunity to go to this place to basically just like try to just isolate myself and figure out a bunch of stuff. And pre that, I had a really hard time figuring out what I was going to do. I obviously loved leading worship, and I still lead worship and always
mm,
will.
mm,
But it was almost like this point in my life where I was like, is this really all I'm going to do forever? Like,
mm,
like it's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever been good at. And so I guess it is, but I just kind of felt like I I didn't want it to be my forever,
mm,
but I also didn't know what else I would do. So
mm,
it was like I knew I wasn't just going to like go get a random job. Um, and so I was just battling with a lot of that, and didn't have a lot of confidence in songwriting at
mm,
the time. Um, and I think a part of that was just like all the stuff I was not dealing with was like blocking me from it. It's
mm.
almost like a weight that was unnecessary, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And um, post going to that retreat place, I wrote a song while I was there.
Mm,
Um, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like I'd never written a song completely and it was a worship song, and I wrote it by myself.
mm,
And so that was kind of like, and it was towards the end of my time there, and I was like, maybe I'm like, finding some mojo or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I just felt a lot of freedom too. I felt released from a lot of things that I was dealing with, and so um, that kind of like started the journey of like when I got home from there, dude. Like I wrote every day, all day. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like the only thing I wanted to do. It just like released the valve, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And not most of it wasn't good, but
yeah.
it was like the beginning of my like 10,000 hours, I guess. You know what I
Mm.
mean? As they talk about like Ed Sheeran has this great quote. The redheaded dude from
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm just kidding.
Of course.
Um,
Of
of
course.
course you do. He has this quote about songwriting. He's like, it's like turning a faucet on, and like an old faucet or like a dirty faucet. And it's like
Mhm,
the water comes out and it's like brown and gross, but eventually the longer you leave it on, it becomes clear.
mhm,
And he relates it to songwriting in the sense of like you got to just like get through the dirty water, you know, which is
mhm.
it's the same 10,000 hours model, just a
Yeah.
different analogy essentially. But it always kind of stuck with me, and so I was like, man, I'm just gonna like get through this dirty water.
Mhm,
And even like a little bit of mainland is that like it's I would say probably half of it is like still not clear water. You know what I mean? Like, but it was a part of the journey, part of the
mhm,
process. And um, I feel like in the last year or so, it's been like I'm starting to it feels like the water's clear,
Mm,
in a lot of ways. So
yeah, that's so cool. Like you can actually like see it getting like you're like, oh, like this is like is it like with like I'm kind of curious now, like when you
yeah,
start seeing the
yeah,
water's clear, is it like you're just like either you're just kind of able to write more clearly, or is it like what is that kind of looking for you like as you're kind of like
yeah. Well,
seeing those signs?
there's like a weird practical answer, which is like your like it. This is gonna sound. I don't want it to sound a certain way, but
Yeah.
it's like your ideas become less and less bad.
Mm,
Like even if they're not great, it's like what starts coming out of you is like most of it is like you start to realize like, oh, like this isn't bad. It's maybe
mhm.
not something I'm gonna finish, but it's still like good. It's like presentable to
Yeah.
somebody. Like if I wanted to bring it to another songwriter, I could bring it to them and we could maybe write a song off it. You know what I mean? Like I just think that things become a little less like yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a weird
Yeah.
way to say it, but it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like just the ideas become a little more clear and a little more grounded and a little more thought through naturally. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because of all the work. Um,
Mm,
that's not to say you still don't write bad things. You definitely do, but not as bad, I
yeah.
guess.
No, yeah. That totally makes sense. And like, do you do like what does your songwriting like production process look like on your end? Like how do you kind of what does your workflow look like when you're kind of working an idea?
Yeah. A lot of it is like I'll be anywhere from like on a walk with the family to in the shower to laying in bed at night, like, and I'll just voice note and
Mhm.
a melody or a thought and that's kind of like my like immediate thing to do. Um, and then usually but sometimes I'll just come down here to the little studio and like put on a piano and reverb on my vocals and just like worship and sing
Mm,
and um, just see what kind of comes out. You know what I mean?
mm.
Like, um, but yeah, it looks, or sometimes I'll make a track, and write to it. It's just kind of like, I don't try to get stuck into one way of doing it. Um,
Yeah.
because sometimes if I write on the piano all the time, it's like going to be I don't even know so many chords. So it's like going to write the same kind of thing all the time.
Mhm.
So I switch it up as much as I can.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I kind of want to divert now. You kind of tapped into like family a little bit and like you are married and you're a
Yep.
father of two kids, which
Yep.
congratulations. Did you recently have your second?
Yeah. January 1st.
Oh,
So
it's
New
so
Year's
awesome.
Day. Yeah.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah. That's cool.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, and also just like in your Spotify bio and just like online,
Hmm.
you also have like a very rich heritage with like your grandfather being a worship pastor, your parents being on
Yeah.
the worship team, and like also your siblings like also pastoring other churches. Like,
Yeah.
how has that all of that like richness like impacted what you're doing right now in the music industry, writing, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, greatly. I mean, I would say you know, it was kind of all we knew growing up.
Mhm.
You go to church, we would go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays back then. Um, but yeah, it's like, it was just kind of it was like, it was so innately like ingrained into like the fabric of our family from like my grandfather down, which he was like
Mhm.
a worship minister at a bunch of different churches in Texas and Oklahoma and Florida. Um, and so yeah, I think it's just kind of like I would say it's like a massive impact. It's
Mhm.
like if you grow up in a family that all plays golf, your chances of you playing golf is pretty high. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
granted, I'm kind of the only one that's taken it as far as like a career as
Mhm.
my brother or my sister or my dad or um, my grandfather really is the only one that's like done it as like a full-time job. My
Yeah.
brother led worship for a little bit full time, but he's kind of been more like an executive pastor role for
Mhm.
his career. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's been huge.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And I know that like since you're more doing like the artistry kind of thing, like you obviously have to play shows, you have to travel a little bit. Does
Mhm.
your does your family travel with you when you get to play shows, or is it kind of
No,
like
I'm
I
not
see you
that
guys a little
cool.
bit?
I wish that'd be
Yeah.
awesome. No, so I mean, like this phase of my artist thing, like I would obviously it was in like a duo. It's called Sons the Band, and like it's on
Mhm.
my Spotify. It was like a worship thing we did with Tribal, me and another guy named Steve. And so we did
Yeah.
that. I did that for like 3 years. Um, and when that ended, January of last year, um, I was kind of left with like, well, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I was 32. We had a kid,
Mhm.
wanting to have another kid. Just like kind of time to reevaluate a little bit of like, kind of like, should I be pursuing this as much as I am? Or like,
Mm.
it's like, which is like a fair thing to ask yourself, is
Yeah.
like, is this, as much as I love it, is this really what's cut out for me? Um, and so that kind of turned into me just kind of being like, you know what, like if it is a thing, if you still want me to do this, then I'm down. But if not, then that's
Mhm.
okay, And then like a week later, Brandon called and was like, "Hey, you want to sing in the band?" And I was like,
That's
"Sure."
insane. That's
So, and that kind of
insane.
just steamrolled into kind of where we are now, which is I'm doing the artist thing in a new way. So,
Yeah. That's so cool. I'm definitely we're gonna definitely touch on the Brandon Lake
yeah.
stuff in a minute. But the last question, like this segment, I really would love to just kind of get your input on is like with having like a family and like your kids now, like how has that impacted how you write music? Do you write kind of like I want to write these things to encourage the kids? Like has that like kind of shaped how you kind of write music now? Or has it always just kind of been
Um,
similar?
it definitely puts a different like weight to what
Mhm.
you're doing. Um, puts different weight on what you're doing in general. I mean, like you think about your life, you think about your flaws, you think about the things you're good at, um, just on a very heightened level.
Mm.
Like you're okay. Like, what am I really passing down? I was working on a song earlier um, about just like I don't know if this is like weird language, but like generational like sin and generational curses of like
Mm.
like.
Mm.
And I heard this guy say the other day, he's like, if you need extra motivation, like you can absolutely pass down these things to your kids. Like
Mm.
you can either pass down your sin or you can pass down blessing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, gosh, this is like pretty time to look in the mirror a little bit,
Yeah.
like, um, and so I was like working on the song about that, like, and like some of the lyrics, it's like I'm 33, still slaying dragons from when I was a teen.
Yeah.
Um, if I don't win this fight, like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree,
That's great.
like,
That's so good.
it's just kind of like this idea of like, I mean, if I don't fight these things, not just for myself, but like I'm going to pass it down. It's not something I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, so it definitely changes things. I don't know if it's necessarily changed like what I write as much. I mean, obviously that's a good example, but like
Yeah.
it does. But as far as like the drive to,
Mm.
write songs for the church and be an artist and all that kind of stuff, like that hasn't really changed. Just kind of makes you a little more motivated to like
Yeah.
try to be somewhat successful to like put food on the table. But
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like
No,
that.
that's great. I resonate with that. That's yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. I love that. Um, we're gonna take a little bit now, diverting a little bit to working with
Yeah.
artists. You said Sons the Band, you said Brandon Lake. You've also worked with Tribal, as you said, Steve Davis, Young Collective, all those people. Um, that's like huge. That's so cool. I was like going through your Spotify. I was like, dang, this is crazy looking at
It's a
all
pretty
the projects.
diverse batch of songs right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so cool. But
Yeah.
like, what is it like creating with like collaborating with other artists and bands like those people? Like, what was
Yeah.
the energy like?
Um, I mean, it's awesome. I think collaboration is huge, and you see it in every genre of music. The
Mm,
importance of it. You have like people like Jack Antonoff that's like producing and writing with all these people because there's a special collaboration that's happening.
hmm
Um, and I'd say it's the same for whatever genre you're in, but it's everybody's different, you know what I mean? So like
Hmm.
you bring your certain thing to the table, like
Yeah.
especially with songwriting, it's like maybe you're more of a melody guy, or maybe you're more of a lyrics guy or a concept guy. It's like, or girl, sorry. But and then the guys that are really, really, really good, they're good at all three. You know what I mean? They can just adapt to whatever it is you bring to the table.
Hmm.
Um, for a long time, I was pretty like melody driven.
Hmm.
Um, and then you write with people that are like, cool, you're a melody guy, I'll be the words guy. And you're like, whoa, you can just like adapt. You're like blown
Yeah.
away. So you try to be, now I'm at the point where it's like I try to be good at all three, or every aspect of it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, like everything's, it's collaboration is also hard because it's vulnerable and it's
Hmm.
um you're not working by yourself, you're working with other people, and working with other people sometimes can be challenging, but it's also very rewarding to celebrate with someone. So everybody's got a different thing, like for like the TV film side of things that I do sometimes, it's like
Hmm.
very like not like a ton of emotion involved, you're just like
Hmm.
writing a song, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you're writing worship songs, it's like there's a lot more rules and guidelines and things you got to think through, like theology and will people sing this? It's got to be simple enough for them to sing it, but you don't
Hmm.
want it to be boring. And it's like all these things, And so, but they're both awesome in their own regard. So,
Yeah. I love that. You kind of touched on a little bit on TV and film stuff. Can we just quickly jump into that? Like, what do you do
yeah.
for that?
So I got a couple of, really one main one. It's called The Invention of Flight. And it's like
Mm,
um, partner with Music Bed.
so cool.
And so put music out on Music Bed, and it's done great. I mean, it's like me and three other guys out of Kansas City, and yeah, they just like sent me some tracks one day that were just like instrumentals, and they're like, "Can you write to this and record a vocal?" And I was like, "Sure."
Why
And
not?
we've been doing it ever since. So
So cool.
it's a lot of fun, and it's like I said, It's
Mhm.
nice to do something different than the worship things every now and then, So,
Yeah,
um, but it's a lot of fun. It's like been on like Netflix, and it's been on TV
that's so
shows
sick.
and stuff. It's really cool. So that was also a very like uh, confidence boosting,
Mm,
thing I was a part of early on. Kind of getting my feet wet as far as like going full time with a lot of this stuff. It was like, oh, this is working. This is successful. That's encouraging. It's
yeah,
like, so
yeah.
yeah,
I love it. I love it. What was it like? Again, you like touched on Brandon Lake just calling you. What was that
yeah,
like getting that like call? And like, did you know him beforehand? Can you just kind of tell that story a little bit of how you got that
yeah. So
whole
like, quick
thing?
synopsis is the church I was at in Virginia. We both worked there together.
Mm,
So we're both worship leaders there. And he kind of like taught me how to write worship songs at our time there. We were on staff together for I think 3 years.
mm,
He was on staff a little before me, and I was on staff a little after he left. So together we were on staff for about 3 years. And yeah, he just kind of like, I mean, he's so gifted and
yeah,
talented. It's like you kind of knew like the first time you met him, you're like, oh, this guy's gonna be a thing. It's
yeah,
like just had so much talent, and like just knew exactly what he wanted to do, and was very good at writing um, any type of song, but really like in the worship space, it was like
mm,
really clear. And so I just kind of soaked up as much as I could from him because I hadn't done that a lot. Um, and full circle now, it's like, yeah, he was doing like some bigger venues and needed some like background vocal help, and asked me if I could jump on, and so I was like, "Yeah, it sounds awesome." So
yeah.
it was a blast, dude. I mean, it's
That's
like
so
so
cool.
fun, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cush gig. I mean, outside of being away from family and stuff, and like your hours are weird, but like
Mm,
the band's awesome. Um, band's insane, actually, very good.
yeah.
I'm for sure the weakest link. But I
Sure,
think
you're
I
selling
just make
yourself
up
really
for it
short.
for like the good times, good vibes.
Yeah.
Um, but that kind of turned into him being like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to do what you're doing." But like, I was like, "I want to get my own band one day."
Yeah.
We're just talking like spitballing one day, and So he approached me later on and was like, "Hey, what do you think about being like the first artist that I sign?" I was like,
That's it.
"Sounds pretty sick." So, yeah, so I did that, and that's been the last probably like since this past summer,
Yeah.
really. Um, so yeah, I did my own little set during the tour in the fall, and did kind of my crazy song called "Only One Name," and then I
Mm.
did the worship song that's out, "Can't Help But Praise," and so um, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
been a lot of fun.
That's so sick. Like,
Yeah.
what's your favorite part of like live shows for your own shows, but also when you're doing with Brandon? Like, what's a favorite part that you're always looking forward to?
Well, I haven't done a live show for myself
Mm,
really ever.
mm,
Mainland, I didn't like tour it or anything or do anything with it. And then with Sons, we did a few things, but it was me and another guy. So it was like, but um, so as far as myself, I was like, I don't really know yet. I mean, we had a meeting today about planning like a live recording for me
yeah,
in the fall, and it's kind of going to be my first like night that
yeah,
I kind of own and I will lead, and um, it'll be a full expression of you know what I want to bring to the table, which is
mm,
worship songs and songs that are more artist driven too. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's that part's kind of up in the air. I mean, I imagine I'm gonna love it. I
yeah,
imagine it's gonna be awesome, but I'm also very nervous and
yeah.
like haven't felt that pressure before. So like good pressure,
Mhm,
but as far as like Brandon stuff goes, it's like I mean, there's nothing like that first song. I mean,
mm,
like when we come out, I think one of my favorite parts of the night is definitely as far as like energy wise. It's like we come out with Praise You Anywhere,
mm,
and we end big, places going nuts. It's like 10, 12,000 people. It's insane. And then we just go right into
mm,
the Graves in the Gardens bridge.
yes.
And it's just like the place just goes freaking nuts. I mean, it's like it's so fun. And so that's like one of my favorite parts as far as like the energy.
Mhm,
Um, but there's a lot of sweet moments too. Yeah, it's just cool to see what God's done with him and how God's using him and all that kind of stuff, and to be able to, you know, ride the coattails of it's
yeah,
kind of fun.
yeah. That's great.
So,
Yeah. What is something that like as you're kind of thinking about like thinking through like live shows as you're going to start as your own self play live shows, but like also like the acoustic night, all that kind of stuff. Like, what are you hoping that people that listen to your music and go to your shows like kind of get from it?
oh man, that's a great question. Um, I hope they get. Um, I mean, authenticity is huge.
Mm,
It's like I just want people to feel like relatable and like and the songs are genuine and like from a real place and
mm,
not trying to swoon people into like you know buying something or buying a song or
mhm,
I just want people to I guess I want what the Lord's done in my life to be expressed in those nights.
mm,
Like I want it to be like, man, this guy's like living what he's singing, and
mhm,
he really believes what he's singing. And um yeah, like lead people in that, and then also just be like, you know, also here's a song about my family that I love,
mhm,
Um and it's its own little expression of worship too.
mm. Yeah.
So I guess I don't know if that makes sense, but I
Yeah.
haven't really
That
thought
makes total
about it.
sense.
I probably
Yeah.
should think about this.
that
So thank
makes
you
that.
for that
Yeah.
question.
No problem. No problem. Yeah. That totally makes sense. And that's awesome. And yeah, man, I mean, I'm sure that'll get across. And that's, yeah,
Hope
I think
so.
something new. Yeah. No, that's awesome. As we're wrapping up, we're closing out on our time. I want to know just what does 2025 look like for you? New music, tour, all that kind of stuff. What is your overall goal for 2025?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Can't Help But Praise has been out for like a month
Mm,
and some change. Um, and I've just been really excited about that song. I mean, I just am excited. It's been really cool to see churches playing it, people covering it, drum covers. It's like in the short amount of time it's been out, it's
that's
been
so
really
awesome.
cool to see.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been a part of a song that's like been this impactful quickly, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and so, yeah, I'm just excited to continue to push that for now. I'll have another song come out the next couple months.
Mm,
Not sure which one it is yet. And then, like I mentioned before, gearing up for a live recording this August or September. So,
that's great.
um, yeah, and then that will, you know, trickle out probably through the rest of the year. And then at the top of the year, probably release the whole thing. So,
Mm,
yeah. So
yeah.
it should be a pretty busy year. I mean, I'm doing, potentially doing like some more touring stuff with Brandon in the fall, but I'm doing summer worship nights, the cruise.
Yeah.
This would be weird and awesome and weird, but just on a boat with a bunch of people
I love
singing
it.
songs. But maybe, yeah, it'll be fun. So
Yeah.
doing that, and then just writing with some churches and
Mm,
doing some stuff. So just kind of you know still doing the thing, but nothing
yeah.
too crazy. So a
No,
lot of writing and just getting ready for the recording and stuff. So
yeah. That sounds like a solid 2025. I think that's
yeah,
a good
yeah,
launching point, dude.
yeah.
That's so
So
great.
hopefully it'll be the beginning of a good year. So
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Where can people kind of keep up to date with you? It's like, what's your socials? Where's all that stuff that you kind of
yeah,
spreading everything out?
yeah. Instagram is like at Jordan Colle,
Mm,
and I think TikTok's Jordan Colle Music.
mm,
I think YouTube at Jordan Colle as well. Yeah, and then I have a website and stuff. But yeah, I mean, like Instagram is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. Like my email and everything's on there
hmm.
too. So, but yeah, would love to connect with anybody. So
Yeah.
happy to reach out. Whatever, it's all good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. We are wrapping up. Dude, thanks so much for hanging
Dude,
out.
thanks
I
for
really
having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for
It was
chilling. And
awesome.
guys, thank you so much for watching another episode. Stay tuned for another one, and we'll see you later.